So last time we learned about the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu brings Das into Nishmas Yisrael, into the Neshamas of Yidden. And why is it that Moshe Rabbeinu is able to bring Das? Because in truth, the Neshama comes from a place which is Ever Anor, where it's above Chachma, where it's above the spiritual world. It's in the essence that does have Das. It's connected to Hashem. That's its essence. And therefore, all Moshe Rabbeinu is doing is he's revealing the Das. Let's try and understand it a little bit more before we go on. What's the neshama? What does a neshama mean? A neshama means spirituality, but a neshama is not just spirituality. The neshama, the way we see it, or the way it relates to us, the way it's down here, it's the spiritual light. Like we know the difference between the body and the soul is that the neshama, the guf, is like the keli, it's like the vessel, the container, and the neshama is like the light. It's the soul, it's the life force that's within it. The light of the neshama means the spiritual light that's inside this physical world. The body is the physical existence that covers over this spirituality. The neshama is the spiritual light which sustains it and gives it life. That's the way the neshama comes down here. And because of that, there could be two types of neshamas. There could be a neshama of Zera Adam. There could be a neshama of Zera Behema. Since the neshama means the way it brings light, it brings the spiritual light into the existence of the body. Either the neshama itself is one where it's connected fully, where it's real to it, or where it only understands and realizes something else, but which isn't its reality. But the neshama in its source, in its essence of what it is, it's part of Hashem. Part of Hashem means its connection to spirituality doesn't come from it understanding, from it recognizing where there's the possibility of having Zera Adam, of Zera Behema, Das or not Das. It is a lakus, and therefore it's not able to yes have Das, not have Das. That's its reality, that's what it is. Now the Rebbe asks a question, a very powerful question. That all works for the neshama. But Matan Torah is not for neshamas. When Hashem gave the Torah to the Jewish people, which Ve'ela, Hamishpatim is a continuation to Matan Torah. That's the continuation to bringing down godliness into the world through Moshe Rabbeinu, Daber Ato Imanu V'Nishma. Matan Torah is not two souls. That's not why the Torah had to be given down here. The Torah was given down here to neshamas in bodies. The body for sure doesn't have das. The body is the physical existence. The body is that which covers over godliness. So then how is it, what's the point of Moshe Rabbeinu giving das to the neshama if the body doesn't get it, if the physical existence doesn't get it? Comes the Rebbe and says, no. The truth is that the guf also comes from that place. What's the real existence of the guf? Where does the guf really come from? From Shemitah Rishayna, from the world of Toyum. That's where the reality of the guf comes from. And therefore, also the guf in Toyu, there's a lot of das. Also the guf has das, and therefore Moshe Rabbeinu brings down das into the neshamas and the bodies also. What does that mean? The Alter Rebbe brings a very interesting thing, that there are those mikubalim that are of the opinion that our world is the second world in a series of seven. Just like there's seven spheres, there are seven worlds. The first world, which is called a Shemitah. Shemitah means the time of 7,000 years. There was already a world that existed for 7,000 years, which was destroyed. Now there's our world, which will exist for 6,000 years. The 7,000 is the Yemais HaMashiach, or the Tkufa of Olam Haba. Then our world will cease to exist, and there'll be another 5 after, corresponding to each one of the 7 spheres. That is something which is according to Kabbalah. However, the Arizal explained that that's untrue. There's no such a thing as a world which doesn't have a Torah, which doesn't have the Jewish people. There was no Torah before, and there will be no Torah after. And therefore, it's the reality is that there was no world. What does it mean when it speaks about the Shemitah Rishayna, the earlier Shemitah, the earlier era of 7,000 years? That refers to what we call the Eilam HaToyu, which means not in a different world. There wasn't a different time zone, there wasn't time, there wasn't space, but in the Seder HaInyanim, in the preparation, so to speak, for our world coming into existence. First, there was a world of Toyu, of chaos, where there was an abundance of light, where the light of godliness was in abundance, and where there wasn't very much kalim, the vessels, the containers to contain the light weren't able to contain it, and that's not something which we'll go into now. Mr. Hashem, maybe at a different time will be the proper time to deal with it. But in the meantime, the idea and the concept is that it is so powerful, the energy, that it's not able to be contained by the vessels, by the containers, and therefore there's what's called the Shviras HaKelim. The sparks of that come down into this world, and the physical existence comes from that world of Toyu, because the physical existence is an existence that not able to contain the light, but the light, the essence of it is much more powerful. The light, the energy, its source is so much more powerful, it just is not able to be contained. Now, what's the point? That down here in this physical world, when we elevate those sparks, when we use the physical existence and we do reveal godliness into it, we're freeing the sparks of godliness, which is their source, by the fact that we're connecting them to their source. And at that, as such, we get to a much, much higher level of light, which is much more powerful and intense. Therefore, that means that the guf, the real existence of the guf, is from the world of Toyu. The world of Toyu is a place where the light is intense, where there is das, where there's a realization of godliness, where that's the whole realization. But it came down here where it doesn't perceive that, but our whole point is to reveal. So the real existence of the body, the whole point of the physical world, what we're dealing with, is for sure from the world of Toyu where there's das. We can't reveal that because we ourselves are connected to the physical world. That's why we get Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, that he is a neshama that came specifically from that world of Toyu. There's not many neshamas that come from that world. Moshe Rabbeinu came from there in order to fix our world. Moshe Rabbeinu is the existence of Toyu, and therefore he can reveal, since that's his essence, he can reveal in the body its true existence of its source from the world of Toyu. Now we continue. Now the Rebbe continues to say, fine, so that's how it is in the guf. That's how the physical existence of the body is really something that has das, that has a connection to Lokos, and in reality, where that's its reality, and Moshe Rabbeinu helps reveal that too, which is the amazing idea of something which we were learning about a lot in the previous Mamarim, and that is that the reality of the physical world is actually a Lokos on a higher level. Its purpose is that it's hidden and that we're here to reveal it. How do we do that? Through Moshe Rabbeinu, because that's what his existence is, and he is the one who connects to us and connects to what we really are. Now the Rebbe asks, okay, but Lifneihem seems to imply not just before the neshamas of Zera Behema, but also the neshamas of Zera Adam, which means Moshe Rabbeinu has to give das also to the neshamas of Zera Adam. Now that doesn't seem to work, because the neshamas of Zera Adam already have das. Why does Moshe Rabbeinu have to give them das? So the Rebbe says that in das, there's two ideas of das. One das is the das that comes after Chachma and Bina as a result of Chachma and Bina. Which means, when we understand something, when we perceive something, our mind, intellectually we realize it, comes Das and makes it real. Comes Das and connects us to it, makes it real. Then there's another level of Das, which is that level of Das, which is above understanding, which is beyond understanding. That's the essential connection to the reality, that's the way it is because that's the way it is. Let's try and give at least an example for this. A person can know something is true in various ways. I can know something is true because I saw it. I can know something is true because someone else told me about it. If I know something is true because someone told me about it, I heard it, no matter how much I believe that person, because he's the most believed person to me, because I know how much faith I have in this person, yet someone can convince me otherwise. If I saw something, no one can convince me it didn't happen because I saw it. I saw it, it became more real to me. And that's, in essence, the difference between the Neshamas of Zera Behema and the Neshamas of Zera Adam. And the Neshama of Zera Behema, I'm outside of Elokus. I see the reality of the world. I learned my mind, who I believe, who I trust, or the Sefer that I believe and I trust, told me that there's such a thing as Elokus, but that's not the reality. No matter how much you make it be the reality, it's still not the reality because there's a different reality that I live in. But then you have another thing, which is Das. Moshe Rabbeinu brings Das into these neshamas of Zera Behema, which would mean if I heard something from someone, but it became so real to me as if I myself saw it, to the extent that this becomes the reality. That's the Das that Moshe Rabbeinu brings, because he reveals in our neshamas the fact that in truth we really do see Elokus. But then there's something deeper than that, because even in seeing Elokus, it's still something that's outside of me, but I saw. So in the end of the day, even though no one can convince me otherwise, but it's still not me. It's still not part of me. It's still something that came as a result of me finding out about it. Then there's a deeper idea. What happens when it's me? Something that happens with me. Something that I feel in myself. That's not something outside of me. That's something that no one can even ask questions about. That's something which is part of me. That's me. Now even the neshamas of Zera Adam, who have Das, their Das is that for them Elokus is real. It's not just that they understand it, it's real. But yet it's still not them. There's a deeper type of Das, which you don't need to know it. You don't need to understand it. You don't even need to connect to it and recognize it, because it's part of you. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu brings even into the neshamas of Zera Adam. Even the neshamas of Zera Adam are lacking this Das, the Das which is higher than knowledge, the fact that Elokus is part of them. Now, also the neshamas of Zera Adam can be brought to this through Moshe Rabbeinu, because in reality, the neshamas, every neshama, in reality is part of Hashem. And so therefore Moshe Rabbeinu, who is part of Hashem, who comes from this level, reveals even in the neshamas of Zera Adam the reality of the fact that they're part of Hashem. And that, the Rebbe explains, that's the root of the neshamas, because Nishmas Yisrael alu b'machshava. The source of the neshama is in the thought of Hashem, which means in the essence of Hashem. That's the reality. Not just that it's from a world of Tayu, not just it's from a world of Das, but that's the real place where the neshama comes from really being part of Hashem. And Moshe Rabbeinu, who he's the one who's part of Hashem, Moshe Rabbeinu, about him we say, Asher Anoichi Bikirbai. He has inside himself Anoichi, the essence, the Atzmus Umus of Hashem. Therefore, he's able to reveal in the neshamas of Zera Adam, and like we'll say later, even in the neshamas of Zera Behema, the reality of a Lakus, which is not outside of them, but which is actually part of them.